Today, I'd like to take you on a garden tour. This is Red Eden. It's a beautiful red rose. It reminds me of an ice cream cone, the way it's shaped. It's not an English rose, but I did get it from David Austin. And so what I feel led to do today is just to give a garden tour. A lot of people asking me questions about what my roses are called and if they have a fragrance or not. This one is Munstead Wood, and it's supposed to be a red rose, but as you can tell here in Arkansas, it looks almost hot pink. And let's just see. It does have a very lovely rose fragrance. And for anyone who is curious about Red Eden, let me just check. Red Eden really does not. That's probably its one flaw, is it isn't scented. And then I'm going to take you over here and we're going to look at Darcy. This rose is called Darcy Bustle. And Darcy is an English rose. And as you can see, it also appears to be like a bright, hot pink kind of color. It's supposed to be red. However, as you can see, the red roses in our climate and our zone tend to be a bit pink. This one is Lady of Shalott. Lady of Shalott is one of my very favorite roses. It is also a David Austin English rose, and it has an amazing fragrance, and it has kind of a glow to it. It has different colors, and so it's orange, but then it has some yellow shading that make it really pop. And that one does have nice fragrance. This one right here is actually a red rose. Okay, so you can see this one is really red. This one is called Dancing in the Dark. Dancing in the Dark is a nice ruffled edged red rose, and this one is not completely budded out just yet, but it's getting ready to. Okay, and this one right here, it hasn't actually bloomed yet, but this one that's coming up, oh, that's not even the right one, is called Jude the Obscure. And Jude is also a David Austin English rose. So now I'm going to walk across the lawn here and go over to the next pots in the backyard. I'm going to show you those. Just ignore all the mess because the yard is not exactly spotless today. So this one is called Queen of Sweden. Queen of Sweden is a beautiful bright pink. It has a huge bloom. It's a little bit roughly around the edges, and it does have fragrance. So Princess Alexandra of Kent is this one's name. I may have just said Queen of Sweden, and that was incorrect. I have her out front. So this is Princess Alexandra. Then I have this lovely rose here, and it actually kind of changes colors. This one is called Moonlight in Paris. Moonlight in Paris right now appears to be kind of like a lovely yellow. It is also very fragrant. It is not an English rose. I do believe it's considered a floribunda, and sometimes it alternates depending on the weather and the temperatures. It can look kind of pink. And this one right here is called Brother Cadoffel. I'm not sure if I actually am pronouncing it correctly, but it is a beautiful pink, and it's also an English rose. It is not completely bloomed out, so I can't quite show you, but it has these gigantic globe flowers. Okay, excuse the mess. Okay, so right here, this one is called Lady Gardner. And Lady Gardner got hit with the rain, is not doing real well right now. So, okay, moving on. Then this lovely plant in this pot is Evelyn. And as you can see, Evelyn is a nice, beautiful, peachy pink color. And Evelyn is kind of hard to find. This is a bloom that's a day or two old. And then this one is a little bit newer. So you can see that there's a color difference. And Evelyn has a beautiful scent. And it opens up to a nice, big, flat, open flower. It's also a David Austin rose. So Then these over here, you can see I have a few pots that are not exactly blooming roses yet, but they are coming up and getting ready to bloom. I do have one bloom right here, one tiny little bloom on a rose called Wedgwood. And as you can see, I planted Wedgwood in 2018. It is also a David Austin English rose. So now we're going to take a little walk and just turn the camera around for just a second as I walk through and go into the side yard so that you can see the colors that I have blooming out there. Again, ignore all of this mess. Okay, so this one is a bright yellow, and it is called Julia Child. Julia Child rose is a floribunda. It's actually very hardy, very beautiful and bright, just a very glowing yellow color. And I actually picked this one up at a Kroger store near me several years ago, and it's just been a very good, very healthy plant. This pink one right beside it is called Silas Mariner, and Silas I just planted in February, and as you can see, it's already blooming. So I'm quite happy with that. And it's got kind of small flowers, not near, about half the size of Evelyn, but it does smell really nice. And then over here I have another Julia Child rose. This one that's all budded out is called Eustacia V, but it's not exactly ready to bloom yet. Then we have this one over here that is a pretty yellow, and this one is called Pilgrim, and Pilgrim is also David Austin English rose. Just a nice pretty yellow, and it also does have fragrance. So now we're going to walk across while I'm walking, and I'll go over here and show you what's blooming on in the next flower bed. Please excuse all the water hose and all the mess in the yard, but I'm going to turn the camera back around so you can see. Okay, this one, this highlighter pink, is Gabriel Oak. Gabriel Oak is also a David Austin English rose. Gabriel is very hardy. I planted this one last year, and it's just been covered in blooms. It's been a really good rose. Then this one in the back, this more of a coral, is called Tropicana, and it is just a hybrid tea rose. And Tropicana does not have a fragrance. This one is an English rose by David Austin called Benjamin Brighton. And it's a bright pink, and it's beautiful in the spring, but it has terrible thorns. I'm trying to say it's one of the ones that I really don't enjoy pruning because the thorns are just really horrendous. And also with this one, the warmer the temperatures go into the summer, it's not nearly as pretty as it is in the spring, but you know, I guess it's worth it because it's absolutely gorgeous and very stunning in the spring. Okay, so now I want to show you, there's another one in the back. This one is called Ebb Tide. Ebb Tide has not done very well at all. It's just a little small hybrid tea rose. And then I have a couple of other hybrid teas that I don't even know their names. They were here before I moved in, and they are not my favorite roses, but oh, excuse me. All the stuff in the air. Okay. And then here is another Lady of Shalott. Lady of Shalott, again, that one is David Austin English rose. I pruned this one really hard this year, so it's not as tall as it normally is. But I actually have two. I have one on each side of the arch. And so you can see the one on the right side of the arch is a younger plant. And the one on the left is normally absolutely stunning. I've had it for maybe 10 years. It's just I really pruned it quite hard. And so it's going to take another year or two to recover and build back up. Then this rose is a yellow. You know, I'm not positive of its identity. I bought it from Caddo Valley Landscaping at Arkadelphia, and it was just labeled yellow English rose. But it also has a beautiful fragrance, and it has done amazing in my arched walkway. I have about 3 of them. Sometimes it looks a bit peachy, and then other times it'll kind of lighten up and look like a yellow rose. So you can see this one looks peach. And this one looks a little more yellow, but it is the same rose bush. And you can see how well it's doing. It's going all the way up the arch. And yeah, so I want to just take people through here and let you see and know which ones that you might like in case you ever want to make a purchase and get roses yourself. Now this one is called Wollerton Old Hall. It is also an English rose. It actually has kind of a licorice scent. It's not my favorite, but I really like the shape of the rose, and you can see it's going all the way up. It's kind of a creamy white with just a hint. I would just basically call it a really good cream white color. Let's see. Then this one that's coming up, and you can see like it's covering both sides of the arched walkway, and it's covering really good. This one is called Generous Gardener. Generous Gardener is a really soft, light white pink. Sometimes it appears white, and then sometimes you can kind of see the new buds. Back here, it's got a bit of pink to it, but as the flower ages, it actually softens, and you can see this bud over here, although also pink, is really, really light. And so then by the time it is open and bloomed out for a day or two, it is actually fading to a white. But right now you can see it's absolutely gorgeous. It has a wonderful bloom, but it doesn't do well in a vase because it just is very delicate and it kind of falls apart. So I wanted to share that, and I'll show you from this angle. She's absolutely beautiful. Hope that you guys are enjoying my garden tour today. This one I have had for quite a while. It's called Scepter Isle, and Scepter Isle has not really done great in Arkansas. It is, in the summer, it doesn't have near the petals as it does in the spring, and it's just not my favorite. And it hasn't grown and thrived as well as some of the other ones, but it is also by David Austin. And here's an older bloom from the same plant. And that one again is called Scepter Isle, and it's from David Austin. Then I have another one here beside it that's called Mill on the Floss. Mill on the Floss, I'm looking to see if there's one of the blooms that's already open. It has a small flower, but it's outlined. It's a pink, and it's also a David Austin English rose. And then I don't know if I can get close enough where you can tell, but it has an outline. It does have a scent, and it's just little tiny, and it's very it grows really well and really fast, and it gets very full and very tall, so it needs a lot of space. And then the one right next to it is Ancient Mariner. Ancient Mariner is also David Austin English rose, and it is a beautiful, beautiful medium pink, and you can see that it has spread out nicely, and it's covering a large part of the front garden. And it also has a beautiful fragrance. Then right next to it here, this one is called Gentle Hermione. Gentle Hermione is a David Austin English rose, and it has kind of a yellow center, and so it kind of makes it glow. Sometimes it looks very dainty as it gets older, and it kind of fades to a white, but it's a very, very pale pink. And you can kind of see some of the outside edges and the leaves appear to be white. And this is an older bloom, so it is completely white. Let's see, moving on. The one next to Gentle Hermione is called Emily Bronte. Emily Bronte is another David Austin English rose. It does very well in a vase. It blooms in clusters, And you can see just the color fade. It has kind of a beautiful yellow center. It opens out to a flat flower, and it absolutely loves the sun. And it is about as tall as I am, so I would say it's at least 5 foot tall. So it is a little bit taller, a little less bushy, and has more height to it, but it is blooming beautifully here in Arkansas. And the flowers, the individual flowers, are gorgeous. Okay, now I'm coming back around. This one right here is a pink. It's called Maid Marian, and Maid Marian is not made a full bloom yet. So I'll have to do this one more time as the summer goes so that I can tell you more about Maid Marian. This brighter pink is called James Austin, also in English Rose, and it is by David Austin. And it is a really nice raspberry pink. It's not one of the red roses that's pink. It's actually a bright pink rose. And it's similar in color to Gabriel Oak, but not quite as highlighter pink. It's more raspberry pink. And James Austin also has a nice fragrance. Almost all of my roses are fragrance roses. Right next to it is just a slightly lighter shade of pink. If you can see the difference. James Austin is brighter pink, and then right next to it, behind that bird feeder, is Royal Jubilee. Royal Jubilee is also a David Austin English Rose. And from here you can see back behind, you can see how big the Generous Gardener is. It's that really light pastel pink in the back. So this is Royal Jubilee. Royal Jubilee does not have as many petals as some of the other roses, but it has a really nice shape. Okay, and next to Royal Jubilee, this one is called Jubilee Celebration. And Jubilee Celebration is not fully matured yet. These flowers here really don't do it justice, so I'm gonna have to go back to it another day. Then back behind here, this one is a very upright rose called Queen of Sweden. Queen of Sweden is an amazing vase flower because it's so upright and it stands so tall that it makes a really good cut rose. This one in front of Queen of Sweden is called Ronald Dahl, also by David Austin. It's a David Austin English Rose, and it is named honestly for James and the Giant Peach. It's supposed to be a peachy rose, and it is. You can see some of the older blooms are a little bit more yellow, but it is like a orange peach color. Then moving on, this one is Tamora. And again, it's by David Austin. And you can see that the older blooms fade, kind of a white color, but it is also a peach, but it's more of an apricot, like a lighter peachy color. And then next to Tamora is this one right here, which is called Dame Judy. And Dame Judy is a really beautiful, bright, full orange. It has some fading on the outside edges of the petals, but it is a bright orange. And it's one of my favorites, honestly. And then right behind it is one called Port Sunlight. If you can see Port Sunlight. But Port Sunlight has a really bright orange to it. It's almost exactly the same shade of Dame Judy. So I planted them side by side, and they are very complementary between Ronald Dahl, Dame Judy, and Port Sunlight. Then this one right here is called Carding Mill. And Carding Mill is a little bit rufflier, and it has a beautiful smell, and I would call it kind of an apricot color. Let's see. Now I'm going to just walk back through and show you the opposite side of the garden. Some of my companion plants are just now starting to bloom. You can see some catmint and some Cardana salvia. The brighter purple right here is called Cardana, and this kind of beautiful periwinkle kind of color is a type of catmint. So I'm gonna just walk back through. You can see the climbing roses, we went through the archway first, but you can see them standing back there. And so I'm gonna walk back through to the other side and show you the other side of the garden because there are still more roses. This one right here, this bright yellow, it's like a lemon yellow with white on the edges. And in different stages, it kind of looks differently, but it's really, really done good in Arkansas. And it's called Poet's Wife. And you can see, let's go down here. You can see here where this one is kind of more closed, and then as it ages, it will open up and be kind of flat. So these are just different stages of the rose budding, but they're nice golden lemon yellow, and they do smell. They have a beautiful fragrance. And then my goal on this side was to plant yellow roses together. So it was supposed to be like a yellow and cream bed, and so this one right next to it is also yellow. It kind of got beat up by the storm the other day, but it is called Vanessa. And Vanessa really is more of a lighter yellow, although these blooms right here come across as being very similar to Poet's Wife. It is lighter. It is more of just a pastel yellow. Then right behind it, which most of this one I have already picked from the last week or two, this one is called Charles Darwin. Charles is more of a peachy yellow. I would call it more peach. It's kind of got a really strong, darker yellow to it. It's not lemon yellow. It's more of a dark, bright yellow. And it smells wonderful. And then right here behind it is another lemon yellow. This one is called Golden Celebration. Also David Austin English Rose. If I didn't mention the name of any particular rose and what brand it is, you're welcome to ask. But most of them are David Austin English roses. Except now we're getting into one of my brand new plants. I have bought, this one is 2 years old, and it is called Earth Angel. And I'm waiting on Earth Angel to bloom out fully. It's getting really close. Then these pots are brand new baby roses that I have just planted this spring. This one is called Beverly. This one is Blue Girl. They are going to be more lavender on this side. This one is called Young Lycidius, and she is also David Austin English Rose, but some of the other new babies are not. This one is called Plum Perfect. And then over here, this one is Olivia. Olivia is just a really light pink, and it smells wonderful. It's very classy pale pink. Now over here on this side is Crocus Rose, and we just had some storms this week, and they've kind of torn them up a bit. They're looking a little dingy. I'm trying to find a new one, and Crocus Rose is a little bit more peachy than it is cream. When I purchased it, I thought it would be more creamy, and it is, but it's also got a little peach to it. Now on this side we have one called Rosemary. Rosemary is a beautiful cream white, and as you can see, it's not in full bloom just yet, but it will be any day now. And then I'm about to move down to one of my final roses that's in bloom right now, but first I want to show you Tranquility. This one is Tranquility. Again, kind of a cream white. My goal over here on this side was to do a white and yellow pattern. So this one is kind of a creamy white called Tranquility. And Tranquility also has a beautiful fragrance. Now to come down here a little bit closer, I'm going to show you Desmunda. So this one is called Desmunda. Desmunda is a pale pink. It's kind of a glowing pink. It's a David Austin English rose. It is a wonderful fragrance. However, in the book it is listed as white. I would say it's actually a pale pink, very similar to Emily Bronte and Gentle Hermione, but just as beautiful. And then I have one more cream rose right down here that's called Windermere, and I'm gonna look and see if there are any of the buds that are open right now. Well, here's one, Windermere. Windermere is beautiful, and it has amazing fragrance. And I'm looking to see if I can get one where you can see it better. They're kind of all buried in, but yeah, so I just wanted to share my garden. I've passed out so many flowers lately that I know people are starting to ask me like what the names of the roses are. And so I just wanted to be sure and post something so that people could go back and identify and determine if they want to make any purchases for roses. And I'm realizing there's still a couple more that I haven't gotten to yet. This one in the middle right here, I don't know if you can see that. I want to say that this is Jeff Hamilton. It is also an English rose. It's a pink English rose that I got from Cattle Valley Nursery. So it was only labeled pink English rose, but I believe from my research that it closely resembles Jeff Hamilton. So I believe there is one or two more pink roses that are kind of up into the middle of the garden that I'll make my way up there so that you can see those varieties a little bit closer. Let me go up in there. So, okay, here we go. This one right here is called Huntington Rose. It's also by David Austin. It's an English rose bush, and it is absolutely covered in buds, but the storms have kind of damaged some of them. It's kind of some of them are falling off a lot quicker than they should be. And then this one is called Bishop. Bishop is kind of a raspberry pink. And the only issue I've had with it over time is that the stems just don't hold the weight of the flowers. Okay. Then this lovely pink one is called, well, I'm gonna always say it wrong. I can't quite pronounce it. It's an English name because it's an English rose, of course. But it has a gorgeous pink, and I absolutely love it. And it's called, I can't pronounce it correctly, but Alnwick Rose, by David Austin. So I just wanted to take a moment and bless you with a garden tour in case anyone is curious or interested in knowing the names and whether or not the roses are fragrant. Just to share the beauty of the creation and wonder of Jesus Christ. The Lord is a mighty creator. It's amazing that he covered every detail with fragrance and beauty and color. It's amazing to think about all of those things. And you just sit and ponder the work of the Lord, the vastness of his creation, the beauty and the wonder of each one. So, thank you for joining me. May God bless you.